Good morning, everybody. This morning I'm going to read from A Course in Miracles, complete and annotated edition, Chapter 31, The Final Vision, Section 3, The Sleeping Prisoner. And as I've said before, The Course in Miracles can be applied to all areas of perception. And this channel obviously is devoted to including our furry, feathered and scaled sons of God into our love. And so I find that the Course in Miracles is a really beautiful application to understand how and why we've separated others off from ourselves, and the split between the human and animal kingdom is almost easier to see how the ego mind works, because it's a very clear split. People call it speciesism, and there's also another coined term called carnism, which is like what you could see the ego mind as, this carnist cult. And yeah, that we're sort of under this mind control of the ego mind, which is all about the carnal, the body, the appetite for flesh, whether it be trying to get something from your human brother or the animal brothers in the laws of chaos. And the section in the purple book called The Ritual of the Death of God, which I've made some videos on, there's a real clear picture of what we're trying to do, what the ego's trying to do, this sort of tearing open of the brother to get the hidden pearl that is hidden inside himself. And I feel this section, The Sleeping Prisoner, really goes on from there in a really clear way. So I'd like to read to you from that and give my 2 cents worth. Hopefully you get some value from it. Only the self-accused condemn. As we prepare to make a choice that will result in different outcomes, there is first one thing that must be overlearned. So we have to really learn it. It must become a habit of response so typical of everything you do that it becomes your first response to all temptation and to every situation that occurs. So here he's saying, those that condemn or attack have accused themselves first. So he's now pointing back to this deep guilt that's within the mind, and every situation that comes up, he's saying just be really aware that your first response is that you're now being tempted to guilt, to your own guilt, and to deny it and project it onto others. Learn this and learn it well, for it is here delay of happiness is shortened by a span of time you cannot realize. You never hate your brother for his sins, but only for your own. Whatever form his sins appear to take, the form obscures the fact that you believe them to be yours and therefore meriting a just attack. So basically, whatever we see in our brother is obscuring the fact that you believe that they are yours. And he's not saying they are yours, because we are love, but we seem to have this unconscious guilt and we project it onto others. Now, he does answer a bit more about that later on, but I would just present the question. One of the things that comes up a lot when people are talking who've woken up to this kindness and gentleness and harmlessness, one of the things that they ask is, why are we doing, if you don't believe, if you know that the things about nutrition are meaningless and you don't value your taste buds above a life, then why are we doing this to them? Like, if we don't need to do this, and everyone's against animal cruelty, why are we treating farm animals worse than our worst criminals? Something in the unconscious mind must, according to this, must be seeing them as sinful, and yet they seem to be, in the conscious mind, very innocent. Like, no one would say an animal is a sinner, but that yet we're attacking them, and so therefore there must be something that's driving that. And the effects, the fake effects, seem to be taste, pleasure, the laws of nutrition, the false laws of nutrition. And there's a whole lot of different sort of wall of attack that seems to kind of cover up why we're doing this. There's around 30 basic objections to veganism. So things like, lions do it too, plants have feelings, it's part of my culture, all these kind of things. But yet underneath that, what is the attack when we see animals? Is it something to do with us needing to be special or superior? Is it greed? But he's saying there's this attack, and underneath that it's based on your belief in your own guilt. Why should his sins be sins if you did not believe they could not be forgiven in you? Why are they real in him if you did not believe that they are your reality? Why do you attack them anywhere except you hate yourself? Are you a sin? So he's asking us some more questions. Why do you do this? Why do you attack him? Why do you attack something anywhere outside of yourself except that you hate yourself? You're saying, do you hate yourself? Are you a sin? And then he goes on and says, you answer yes whenever you attack. For by attacking, do you assert that you are guilty and must give as you deserve? So we're getting down to the bare bones here. And he's saying, if you believe you are guilty and you deserve death, then you must give as you believe you deserve. So there's this driving killer in us, and if we can somehow refrain from being unkind to people or nagging our partners, or in a sort of more brutal mind, you might smack your children, or domestic violence, or all these kind of seeming levels in the world. But if you can sort of suppress and refrain from this guilty ego attack, and yet the ego says you must give as you deserve, then it's going to happen behind closed doors out in the country. Billions and billions of animals, every week are brutally slain. And, you know, this is all seemingly, according to the text here, seems to be coming out of this self-hatred. And what can you deserve but what you are? So if you think you're guilty and you're a murderer, then you need to make your body a graveyard for animal bodies. You need to put rotting flesh inside your body. And, you know, if that's not a recipe for death, I don't know what is. If you did not believe that you deserved attack, it would never occur to you to give attack to anyone at all. So there it is. If you would not give attack to anyone unless you believed you deserved to be attacked. And there's a lot of Course in Miracles students that just pretend this is not happening, that they're not attacking. And I feel that that's to maintain this unconscious guilt. But if you've fully released this guilt, you just couldn't attack. You couldn't attack. You just couldn't go with your money and spend it at the supermarket on a hitman. You just couldn't. Why should you? What would be the gain to you? What could the outcome be if you would want? And how could murder bring you benefit? So the awakened mind would just say, why should I go and buy some dead bodies and put them inside my body? How could that be of any gain to me? There's no purpose in it. When you see when you release your purpose for eating death, you just say, how, why would I do that? And what could the outcome be that you would want? It's just completely bizarre. And how could murder bring me benefit? And then he goes on, he's being sarcastic, or he's talking about what the ego believes. Ego says, sins are in bodies, they are not perceived in minds. They are not seen as purposes, but actions. Bodies act and minds do not. And he's being very sarcastic here, because he goes on to say the opposite in the next section. And therefore must the body be at fault for what it does. So we will attack a body, we'll inflict this guilt on our own body, and we'll spray it out on everyone else. It is not seen to be a passive thing, obeying your commands and doing nothing of itself at all. If you are sin, you are a body, and for the mind acts not. And purpose must be in the body, not the mind. The body must act of its own and motivate itself. And this is what the ego tells us. Oh, the body was hungry. The body was craving the ice cream. The cow's milk, that the baby had to be taken off the cow so it couldn't have its own milk. And the boy cows had to get killed so I can have my ice cream. If you are sin, You lock the mind within the body and you give its purpose to its prison house, which acts instead of it. So the body's doing it, not me, and it was just the body craving. And I can't tell my body not to crave dead bodies, because it just does, and it controls me. A jailer does not follow orders, it enforces orders on the prisoner. So here he's suggesting that the ego is telling you that the body is the jailer and you're the prisoner. Your mind is the prisoner of the body. And the jailer does not follow orders. It's mindless, but it enforces the orders on the prisoner. Now, these orders come from the ego. The ego has hijacked the body, made it appear to be the jailer that's enforcing orders on your mind. And then he goes on to say, yet is the body prisoner and not the mind. The body thinks no thoughts. It has no power to learn, to pardon or enslave. And what does it do? We think it enslaves us. We think that we seem to be enslaving, bodies seem to be enslaving other bodies by putting them in behind fences, in cages, breeding them into existence with a set kill date, cutting off their claws and beaks and tails and testicles, and being forcibly bred, and then having their babies taken away, and then forcibly enslaved into this truck and sent off to be cut up into little pieces to make a body a graveyard. Now, if that's not slavery, I don't know what is. And he's talking about slavery, about this body that thinks that we think this body is enslaving us. We think that there's enslaving of other bodies through bodies, but he's pointing back to the mind. It gives no orders that the mind needs serve. So it's saying the body is not giving orders the mind needs serve, nor sets conditions that it must obey. It holds in prison, but the willing mind that would abide in it. So it's saying only a willing mind that will allow the ego to imprison it seemingly through a body can happen. Is it possible? So that the ego mind holds the body in prison, and we willingly agree via our guilt. It, the body, sickens at the bidding of the mind that would become its prisoner. So we give the body to the ego mind, and the body sickens under its rule. It grows old and dies because the mind is sick within itself. So the ego mind is sick, it's a killer, it's a torturer, and the body becomes old and dies under its rule. Learning is all that causes change. So the body learns from the mind that says death and murder and horror is all important and evil is necessary in the world, which I read the other day in the section about healing journey. And so the body, where no learning can occur, could never change unless the mind preferred the body change its appearance to suit the purposes given by the mind. So that is a profound, profound statement. The body basically never changes. The body has the potential to never change unless the mind preferred the body change its appearance to suit the purpose given by the ego mind. There's some Course in Miracles teachers out there that are talking about this, and a lot of people don't like this idea, but that's what it seems to be saying. And when the body, it seems to be saying the body can be changeless if given to the right mind. It says, for it can learn, and there is all change made. Can learn. It can learn from the ego mind. It does respond to the ego mind. And interestingly, there's a group of, there's people that they call centaurians, which are groups of people who have lived over 100 years. And the only group of Western centaurians are a group in California, which are called the Seventh-day Adventists. And some of them, they've done, because they've eaten either vegetarian or vegan food for, like the last 100 years, they have used them as a good topic of research, in the world. And the ones that are vegan, particularly, have lived, that have refrained from all animal cruelty and followed the thou shalt not kill law perfectly as possible in this world, in all areas. Some of them are living to, there was one guy who lived to 114, and he went vegan, I think, at 4 years old. And it's not perfect because they do get old, there's still a belief in death, but it's kind of an interesting ponder. It's an interesting ponder to look at. And we can all, this is all deepening. The Course in Miracles text is this blueprint that's I guess applicable. It's like a blueprint that's applicable to look at all areas of our lives, and so yeah, it's worth looking here at this topic because there's some very strong symbols in the world that suggest that that this is kind of like a major area of this ego attack in our culture, and when it's reversed, there seems to be this response in the body of health. The mind that thinks it is a sin has but one purpose, that the body be the source of sin. It kept it in the prison house and chose the guards. And kept in the prison house, it chose the guards. So the body seems to be kept in a prison house, and it chose the guards, the ego thoughts, wherein it holds itself at bay. A sleeping prisoner to the snarling dogs of hate and evil, sickness and attack, of pain and age, of grief and suffering. So he's not pulling any punches now. He's saying, you are the prisoner of snarling dogs of hate, evil, sickness, attack, grief and suffering. Now, if you want to see all of those things, pop over to YouTube and type in animal slaughterhouse footage, and you'll see the most sick, evil horror you've seen in your life. There's no humane way to kill an animal. You'll see their faces, their little faces. Cows are like little teddy bears, and their eyes go wide with terror. They know, they're not stupid. They're all lined up, being stunned and they try to run away. It's extremely horrific. But if you don't believe what I'm saying, I would say if you want to eat animal bodies, at least give them the dignity of looking at what they are going through. That's the least you can do for them. Here are the thoughts of sacrifice preserved, for here guilt rules and orders that the world be like itself, a place where nothing can find mercy or survive the ravages of fear except in murder and death. And yeah, I've heard people say that. Oh, well, if it's that bad, then they should be happy to die. You know, there's this thing of like escape through murder and death, escape of this torture in this world. Or, you know, it might be your own desperate suffering, you know, these suicidal thoughts, because you've given your body over to the ego mind to keep it prisoner. For here are you made sin, and sin cannot abide the joyous, nor accept the free, for they are enemies which sin must kill. So that's sad that the ego can't abide joyfulness, and joyfulness comes from this harmlessness, and the qualities of the teacher of God talk about joy is the direct fruit of gentleness, and gentleness is harmlessness, and the strength of harmlessness. So it does come in strongly, but the ego, before you become wholly gentle, the ego will threaten you. If you become joyful, wow, things are going to get very heavy around here, and it will not accept the free either. It needs a prisoner. It needs to imprison you, and in turn, as it says, you must give what you believe you deserve. So you need to keep the wheel of prisons going by funding. You need to go to the supermarket. The ego will take you to the supermarket and use your money to fund prisons, huge prisons that, you know, house billions more sentient beings, more sons of God than human prisons. And it says, it cannot accept the joyous or free, for they are enemies which sin must kill. So the ones that are joyful and free, the ego desperately sees that as an enemy because they're a symbol of God's love. And we can't have that. We can't have happiness and free and the joyful. We can't have that in you. We can't have that in them. And so it wants to kill. In death is sin preserved, and those who think that they are sin must die for what they are. So it says you're a sinner and you must die. And here's how I'm going to convince you. I'm going to say, kill, chop those bodies into pieces, fund slavery, go to the supermarket, pick up a piece of chopped up rotting corpse, put it inside your body. It'll make you sick, and then you'll get all these diseases that are linked to that, and then you'll die. Ha ha ha. That's, yeah, my carnist cult is complete. And then he sort of lightens up a bit and says, let us be glad that you will see what you believe, and that it has been given you to change what you believe. So many people will say, well, I don't believe in all of that, and I'm just going to keep eating my meat. But you will see what you believe. If you see your body, if you are a witness to seeing your body going to the supermarket, paying for dead bodies, watching your hand from your mind, cooking up some bodies, putting it in your mouth, watching the body saying, yum, 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 that's delicious, and eventually you actually see it, you see what you're doing, that he's saying, be glad for that, because you're now seeing what's going on. You see what you believe. You see what you believe. You believe in killing. You believe the ego. You believe in death. You believe in sin and guilt. Now you see it, and that's been given you to change your belief. The body will but follow. So you won't change your belief and then keep eating dead bodies. You'll change your belief. You'll see it. Go and watch slaughterhouse footage. See what it is. It'll change your belief that it's delicious and it's good for you, because you'll see what it actually is, and the body will but follow. If your body is still eating and doing it, then you haven't changed your belief. You haven't changed your belief about death and murder. The body is a reflection of what you believe. What your body does reflects your mind. You can't say, I am love. I am perfect love, which you are, and yet you attest to this belief when you go and do that. It can never lead you where you would not be. The body can't lead you where you would not be. It does not guard your sleep nor interfere with your awakening. Release your body from imprisonment, and you will see no one as prisoner to what you have escaped. So he's saying, the body just does what you believe in. It does not guard you in a sleep. Your mind is what's guarding you to stay asleep. The body doesn't interfere with your awakening. It doesn't hold you prisoner through, it's not generating this pleasure and this yum, 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 delicious. The tongue just does what the mind says. And he says, now if you release your body from imprisonment, and you will see no one as prisoner to what you have escaped. You will not want to hold in guilt your chosen enemies, so you'll no longer want to hold anyone as prisoner. You've escaped and they escape with you. Nor keep in chains to the illusion of changing love the ones you think are friends. So most people would say animals are my friends, even when they eat them, but they won't have this illusion of changing love. You're my friend, but here comes the illusion. I'll just forget that you are my friend and I'll brutally attack you. You'll be consistent in unchanging in your love to the ones you think are friends. The innocent release in gratitude for their release. You've been freed, you accept you are loved, and you release the others from their prison. And what they see upholds their freedom from imprisonment and death. So what you do is what they see. So if you're still paying for them to be chained, they don't see their freedom from imprisonment and death. What they see upholds their freedom from imprisonment and death via your release. Open your mind to change, and there will be no ancient penalty exacted from your brother or yourself. So open your mind up to changing. Open your mind to change. Open your mind to the Holy Spirit's mind. It's the mind of harmlessness and love. And there will be no ancient penalty exacted from your brother. You will not exact death on your brother or yourself. For God has said there is no sacrifice that can be asked, and there is no sacrifice that can be made. There we go. Thanks for listening, and have a beautiful day.
Breathe into my spirit, breathe into my veins, until only love remains. You burn away the ropes that bind and hold me to the earth. The fire only leaves behind whatever is of worth. I began to see reality for the first time in my life. I know that I am the shadow, but I'm dancing in your light. Teach me to be humble, call me from the grave, show me how to walk with you upon the waves. Breathe into my spirit, breathe into my veins, until only love remains. Teach me to be humble, call me from the grave, show me how to walk with you upon the waves.